Bang! Needs Knives, I'm Jared, and today we're testing the new Zero Tolerance 0203. And right now we're later on in the video, so I'm gonna rewind back, to where we originally started, because right now me and the 0203 taking a little hike.
Hello, why do they doubt the kid? I'm about to prove them all wrong again. I got a low tolerance, cause they don't even know what the problem is. It's me. You waiting on the boy to fail, now hold your breath and face your death. Cause you play a roulette with each step I progress, no less. Go ahead and place your bets, cause we know where we at, we know we top tier. Cause all the hate that you bring, we know it stops here. I'm taking off like a rocketeer, ain't stopping here. It's strange how they cannot see the future but see profit here. Wait up, we gon' always win. Promise that that's not a promise, yeah, that is a threat. You know that I promise to bring the team commas. When the whole team win, that's when you flex. Win, and I'ma do it again. Watch me win, then watch me do it again.
Let's take a close look at it before it goes through all the hell it's going to go through. We've already done a lot of cutting. I've carried it for a couple days. It's went really well. The edge, came very sharp, but it didn't have a ton of bite. After, cutting with it a bunch, the bite went away pretty quick. Obviously, I can strop and hone this stuff back, and that's not that big of a deal to me, because I'm going to sharpen it up anyways. But, and like I said, it was still very sharp. Bite and sharpness is a little bit different. But I just want you to take a look at how beautiful it is right now. Let's see how she turns out after some nasty stuff. Let's get it. It appears she opened up. Just gonna keep dragging it however it goes. I kind of want to scorpion this thing into a log. So we're gonna try to do that right now. Now I'm not gonna argue that I'm good at scorpion knives into logs with paracord wrap to it, but we're gonna do our best. Let's get this log up here. It looks good right there. Maybe a little bit higher. There we go. All right. All right, so we got the knife on paracord. Then we're gonna spin it around a couple times right into that log over there. See how it goes. First I want to knock down some of these little bushes. Get them out of the way. Jesus. Ooh, I keep getting this bottom log, but it's deep. Let's look at it. I don't know if you guys can see it from all the way over there. She's deep. 2 inches, inch and a half maybe. I gotta go higher. Okay, let's see here. Right here. Right in between. Ooh, that was not good. Oh, dang it. Got it. Oh, I wonder if we could pull that log. Get over here. Oh my goodness, look at that. Would you look at that? Pulled a log over here. That's kind of cool. Got it. That's what I'm talking about. Look at that. Let's see how deep it is. Let's see if we can. Yeah, pretty deep. Ooh, man, I'm getting good now. Oh, that sucker's in there. So I did find out this thing's actually a really good throwing knife. Like really, really good. Surprisingly good. Damn, this thing is so good. Wow, look at how deep that thing's going. Sorry, my camera's a little goofy. Wow. I'm not gonna bend that sideways. That would be way too much. It's way too deep. But I love how far I'm able to throw this like perfectly. I mean, this thing just has, look at that. This thing just has the absolute perfect balance, blade shape, just everything for throwing a knife.
And I'ma do it again. Watch me win. Then watch me do it again. Tell them I can't take no loss. My team hold no L's, no. Aiming for the top, can't make it by myself. I ain't taking no loss. I ain't taking no loss. Look, I'ma always win. I ain't taking no loss. Look,
All right, so Taylor Martin told me that he dropped or threw the bug out 25 feet. So I guess we got to at least try to match that. Do a couple more. Watch, Taylor Martin wasn't even being serious. Dude, I was just joking. Ooh. All right. That I guess would simulate being about 3 stories high on the construction site. There we go. All right. Perfect. Oh, failed. Try not to hit the tip too hard. Try to push down when we're doing it so the pressure's not going. I don't know why I'm talking, my mic's not on. So, after all the wear and tear, I am surprised how little damage this edge took. You know, after it dragging across rock, you know, with the edge and me throwing it and missing and it hitting rocks and whatnot, I would have expected a broken tip, an edge chipped to hell. It's got microchips, of course, but that's like that's the worst thing it has, is just microchips, which is crazy. Like I said, I would have expected to have chunks, but the steel held up really good. Yes, of course, it's dull as hell. Of course, there's microchips, but it just needs a good sharpening. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna sharpen up. We're gonna see how the steel feels, because I did already sharpen the Launch 21, also an M4, with a 15-degree edge bevel, and it came out ridiculously sharp. Super, super sharp. 15-degree edge bevel, I don't recommend it for everybody because it can be a more fragile edge, but if you want that high level of sharpness, you know, it definitely will achieve that. Now, we're gonna see how this steel feels. I'm gonna sharpen it up. We're gonna see how it feels on the stone. We're gonna see how the burr comes off, and I'm gonna use the Hapstone Premium CBNs. This is a metal bonded CBN stone, and we're gonna take it from 80 grit up to 400, see how it is, and then I might finish on 800. M4 really likes a toothy edge, so we're gonna see how it goes. We're using the M100 from Kazak. It's a very nice sharpening system. I normally would freehand this, but because we have a bunch of sharpening systems in for testing, we're gonna use this opportunity to test them. So this is the M100 from Kazak, a really, really awesome system. I do have a full review of it coming very soon, but let's get the sharpening. Now, doing a 15-degree edge bevel on this, is going to be something that will take time because a 15-degree edge bevel is a very low edge angle, meaning you have to remove much more material than a higher angle. So if I did this at like 17 degrees per side, it would go much faster than 15. But we're gonna bring it to 15. We're using, you know, these stones. They're nice and aggressive. They cut really fast and they're the proper stones for a steel like this. You wanna make sure you use diamond or CBN for steels like this, so you can ensure that they're gonna cut through the carbides without shattering them and whatnot. If you look at my edge bevel, you can see my new scratch pattern from my diamond plates. It's the darker scratches that's on the top of the bevel. It's going about halfway down the edge right now. So that tells me I am, you know, not halfway done yet, but I'm getting close to that, because those scratches are what you pay attention to see when your bevel is done on one side. So you pay attention to those scratches, and when those scratches make it all the way down to the very apex, that's when you should have a burr. I'm going to flip it over and do the opposite side. I'm not finished with this side yet, but just to even the bevel out, work on them both kind of equally, because I'm doing such a low angle. I don't want to reach the apex on this side without starting the other side because it's such a low angle. Now, one thing you will most likely have to do about probably 80 to 90% of the time when you do a 15-degree edge bevel on a knife is the first sharpening, the tip might not get completely hit. It'll be just as sharp, there'll be nothing wrong with it, but you might see a spot at the tip that the scratches did not perfectly reach the apex, and it's just the difference from like getting a belt grind and sharpening to a perfectly flat stone. So it's just something, you can get it all out in the first sharpening, but it's not good to do, because then you're going to remove a lot of life from your knife that you could have used. So I say get it 90%, 95%, and then just be happy with it. And then if there's anything that needs to come out on the next sharpening, do it then. Going to the 150 grit now, but the steel feels really good on the stone, or the stone feels really good on the steel, I should say. Feels nice and hard. I can feel the stone cutting the steel, which is good. It doesn't feel mushy, it doesn't feel like I'm pushing it around. Typically when you have that feeling, and obviously this takes a lot of sharpening to understand the feeling that I'm talking about, but after you sharpen enough knives, you realize these little tiny details. And when you get a steel that almost feels mushy, like you're pushing it back and forth, they typically will not take the most ridiculous sharpest edges. They'll be difficult to remove the burr, and yeah, and then the edge retention is usually really low on them. But when it's nice and hard and you can like feel the stone cutting the steel, or vice versa. Now we're gonna go to the next stone, 400. This might be the last one, I'm not sure yet. Just do this side first. We'll see. I think a 400 might be really good, man, because like I said, M4 really likes a toothy edge. 400 grit's a really good toothy edge. I typically, 400 grit is typically the lowest I'll go. Typically, I have went 300 before and had really good results with certain steels, but typically 400 grit is the lowest I will go in grit. Now what I'm going to do to remove the burr, I'm actually going to jump to a 5000 grit just for the burr removal. We're going to be very gentle with it. I'm not trying to refine this edge anymore or anything like that. I'm only removing the burr. So I'm going to do some edge trailing passes, very gentle. I'm only using the weight of the stone. And then after I do that a couple times with edge trailing, now I'll go to edge leading. Again, very gentle. I'm using a little bit less pressure than the stone's weight now, just so that it doesn't interfere with my scratch pattern, my micro serrations. Still got some in there. 0.5 micron strop. I'm actually using these are from Hapstone. These are some of the best strops. They're expensive, they're strops, but they are really good. And then the stroppy stuff you can find on the Neve Knife Co. site. Best stropping compound in my opinion. So I did do a little bit of freehand stropping. One cool thing about having a super low edge angle is how much easier it is to strop and hone your edge back because there's less material that the strop has to get through. Now, the burr did not come off quite as nice as I would have liked. It still came off just fine, but it did seem like it took a little bit more effort. But boy, she's sharp. Wow. Woo. That is crazy sharp. Let's see how thin we can get these. Sorry if you guys couldn't see that. Whew. She is ridiculously sharp. Look at that, straight down. That's a straight down cut. Woo-hoo! You know how hard that is to do a straight down cut like that? Yeah, very happy with the edge. That came out very nice. Okay, so let's go over the negatives really quick. So one negative was it did fail. When I first began batoning, it failed one time. Now, I'm going to chalk that up to the lock bar breaking in because it never failed again, even after I put it through much more stress and much harder everything. Like the batoning I wound up doing after that first one was way harder on the knife and the lock than the first couple taps I did. But for somehow it did fail right then, but then never did again. So sometimes locks just need to break in. When you're using a knife, a lock is supposed to get stronger, and that's what happened here. So I'm happy for that, right? It might have failed right at that first one, but then right after that, the lock bar broke in and engaged really good, and it never failed again. And now it is a damn bank vault. There's absolutely no up and down, no right to left, no side to side. It is just rock solid, and I like to see that, especially with a crossbar, because sometimes you'll get a little bit of movement. This one just feels like it's a fixed blade. I like that. But the as far as other negatives, probably my biggest negative is the price, because we have the KERSHAW M4, the 21 here, the Launch 21, arguably with better materials, right? I think most people would argue that aluminum is more expensive and a better material than steel and G10. So I would think that these would be around the same price, you know, or maybe even this a little bit less, but this one is quite a bit more, it's more money, right? This one I think is like 170, 160, 170. And I think that this one's 299, 295, something like that. So it's almost 300 bucks. So, you know, for a USA made knife from Zero Tolerance, you're paying for the name in this case. And I get that. Sometimes you got to pay to play. If you want a knife like this, a badass USA made knife from Zero Tolerance, you got to pay that premium. But I wish, or I kind of wanted it to be titanium liners just to make me feel good. Not saying it would have been better or anything. I guess arguably titanium's better, depending on the steel, but I just think it'd make you feel better, especially, you know, like having the clip, right? The clip is a deep carry steel pocket clip, you know. I wish it was titanium. I wish these little parts were titanium. I just think it would increase the the feeling you have as far as what you're getting for the money. Because like I said, you know, this being Kershaw, you know, both from Kai, it just seems like this one would cost a little bit more, but you know, it is what it is. Now, other than that, you know, this thing has been an absolute badass. The only other little nitpick I could say is I wish the clip was inset, you know, and, you know, was inset here too for the reverse, but not that big of a deal. It works great. They put a good clip on here. It's nice and smooth in and out of the pocket. Very happy with it. I love the crossbar locks, actuators or whatever you want to call it, the buttons are very easy to manipulate. The detent I thought was light when I first got it, but that's another thing. I don't know if I just got used to it or if it did get stronger, but it has a nice thwack now. It is on washers, so you can kind of expect it to have a little bit slower action than bearings, but it has broken in really nicely. It's a heavy blade. It's a big knife. The thumb studs are nice and large. You got, you know, good access to them. Nice thwack. Super comfortable in the hand. This is extremely ergonomic. It's a big knife. You got a nice choke up spot. You can choke back for a little light chopping and stuff like that. But you know, for a big knife, it feels really good. And being as thick as it is, because it is thick, I think it's like 37 thousandths right now behind the edge after I've sharpened it. I don't know what it was from the factory. I forget. But it had a high edge angle on it, so it was probably like 25 thousandths or something like that. Now it's 35, 37 thousandths, to be expected with such a low edge angle. You know, but I will say it's a broad blade with great ergos. With this low of an edge angle, it's going to slice just fine. Yes, that's thick, but that's what you're getting is a robust hard use knife. So I expect that. And like I said, with this low edge angle, it's going to cut extremely, extremely well. Much better than it would have from the factory with a high edge angle. Now it's not going to be as tough. So I do risk now if I do the things I just did, then yes, this would absolutely destroy this edge. But, you know, I'm not going to use it like that anymore. I'm going to use it as just a basic cutting tool. That was just the stress I was trying to put on to simulate a couple years of hard use carry. Now, all in all, I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit overpriced, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Again, sometimes you got to pay to play, and they did a really good job on it. And I'm really happy to see Zero Tolerance, playing with the roots a little bit, because they come from a, you know, tough as a tank or tough, whatever it is, type of knives where they're just absolute badass hard use knives. And I love that they do EDC stuff too. So I like that we see both from them. And I love to see they kind of went back to their roots on this one. So there you guys go. Work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.